Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Axis Capital and Nadana, I welcome you all to the press meeting of the IPO of Nadana Capital Limited. Before we begin, we have a very short AV that we will show to you, and then I will give a brief introduction, and then Ashish will come over. So why don't you go through this AV once, and then I will introduce the people on the dais. Great. So, as most of you would have seen, Nadanak has established itself as a very diversified financial platform financial services platform in India. It has a lending AUM of 11,700 crores as of March 24, and almost a similar or larger scale on placements and fund management size. And it has delivered fantastic financial results over the last 4 or 5 years. And all this is possible because of its key strengths. It's a very differentiated and comprehensive approach to retail lending in India, something that you would not have seen so far in other NBFCs. It has a multi-channel approach, so it originates directly, it originates through partners, it originates through other originators, and there is a proprietary product and technology suite which helps them in managing risks. And the key outcome of that, which you can see, is that the asset quality, which is measured in terms of gross NPA, is one of the best, or probably the best in the industry. The gross NPA is less than 50 bips. Exact, to be precise, it's 45 bips. And the net NPA is less than 10 bips. To be precise, it's 8 bips. Okay, so all that has led to very strong financial performance over the years. And all that is possible because we have a strong management team backed by a strong board. From the management side, we have 3 gentlemen here. Ashish, who's sitting in the center, he's the MD and CEO of the company. Atul, to his right, is the CFO of the company. And Parthasarthi is to his left, is the CRO of the company. Before we begin, let me quickly highlight the deal structure to you, the IPO structure to you. The total IPO size is of 777 crores, out of which fresh issuance is for 500 crores, and there is an offer for sale of 277 crore at the top end of the price band. The price band is rupees 249 to 263 per share. The issue opens on next Monday, which is 16th September, and closes on Thursday, which is 19th of September. The anchor is scheduled for tomorrow, which is 13th September. So, without taking more of your time, I will now request Ashish to come here and give a very brief introduction of the company. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be in Ahmedabad. Genesis of what we do in India starts from Gujarat. So we are so happy to be here and talking to you today about Northern Arc. Like my colleague spoke about it. The Northern Arc journey started about 15 साल पहले. You prefer me in Hindi, English? Unfortunately, I can't speak Gujarati. Hindi is fine. तो हमारी जर्नी शुरू हुई थी आज से 15 साल पहले. बड़ी कम कंपनियां ऐसी होती हैं जो एक पर्पस को लेके, एक उपदेश को लेके शुरू होती हैं और उसी उपदेश पे चलती जाती हैं. एंड आवर उपदेश वाज पर्पस इज सेइंग हाउ डू वी इंश्योर, हम कैसे कर सकें कि हिंदुस्तान का जो भारत है उसमें लोगों को एक्सेस टू क्रेडिट या लोन मिल सके. एंड एक्चुअली अगर आप देखें तो हमारी फर्स्ट इकोनॉमिक कैपिटल जो आई थी, फर्स्ट कैपिटल को दूं, कितने पैसे दूं, किस दाम पे दूं, किस इंटरेस्ट रेट पे दूं, और ये सब करूंगा तो मेरा प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ डिफॉल्ट क्या होगा. And that is what NewsCode does. So we not only use this for our own underwriting, but we also offer it to our originators and investors for them to use these code cards for their underwriting. And all of this creates great amount of institutional learning and institutional assets, which to my mind is a knowledge which Northern Arc has because of the role it plays in enabling the flow of money in these high growth sectors. So 15 साल की history, profitable year on year, 1.7 trillion financed, 6 focus sector, and we don't do beyond these focus sectors. We have a large ecosystem of originating partners, lending partners, 1,000 plus investors, our own branch, and this creates a very powerful flywheel. This means people whom we were lending for many years are now public limited companies. Some of them are going into public. They also invest in our assets. We also lend with them, and that's a very powerful ecosystem. Apart from that, अगर आप देखें तो we would have done last year about 29,000 plus crore. उसमें से like I said 11,700 की balance sheet है, 11,700 plus का placement होगा, बाकी fund management business है. We are a very profitable business. Our growth in profits has been really good. Our balance sheet has been growing at about 31%. Our revenues is growing by about 42%, since profit over the last 3 years has grown by about 60%. So it's a powerful ecosystem which continues to learn, invest. The flywheel continues to move forward, and they're able to deliver a very strong, consistent performance quarter on quarter, year after year. We make 3% return on assets and about 14.5% return on equity. The next slide just gives you a sense to what I said between allocation of assets on our balance sheet. Our biggest focus sector is MSME, followed by consumer, microfinance, and all of them. They are very, very, very high quality assets where we invest, where we participate. We also use the same learning in a placement business and in a fund management business. And all of this is only possible because आपके पास very strong technology है और आपके पास very strong data science capabilities हैं, जो आपने अपनी engineering, अपनी data science से हमने build करा है over the last 15 years. These, to my mind, are the most powerful assets of Northern Arc. All of this in our space is only possible अगर हमारे पास very strong risk management framework है. That is, हम कैसे identify करते हैं, हम कैसे attract करते हैं clients को, हम कैसे उनको underwrite करते हैं, हम कैसे उनको सर्विस करते हैं और कैसे हम पोर्टफोलियो को मैनेज करते हैं थ्रू द साइकिल. We have, because because we have access to so much of data, we run 30 plus proprietary risk models. Those risk models continues to learn using machine learning. So we are able to learn every day this model tends to perform. The model over the last 15 years, and fair to say, I started my career in Citi and I worked for them for about 2 decades. And one of the biggest learning जो थी मेरी कि आप जैसा काम करो, आपके 2 साल के जाने के बाद पता चलता है कि हमने काम कैसा करा. And we are able to learn from each of these models which we run, and that creates an immense powerful engine for us. So ये जो मॉडल है पिछले 10 साल में देखें तो हम बोलते हैं कि जो कंपनी है वो अच्छा परफॉर्म कर सके. जिंदगी में 10 साल में 1-2 साल चैलेंजिंग आएंगे, 100 साल में 1-2 साल ऐसे आएंगे जो कभी आए नहीं. और हमने पिछले 10 साल में वो दोनों देखा. हमने 2 साल का पेंडेमिक देखा, हमने 1 साल में जो at least to the underserved who did not have access to quite large cash economy, they got impacted because of demonetization. There was obviously some amount of disruption, and many issues would have happened, but our risk models continues to outperform. And just to show you the outperforms between the good time and the bad time, I think आप अगर लेफ्ट हैंड साइड नीचे वाला चार्ट देखेंगे, सी कि इंडस्ट्री का GNPA कहाँ पर है और नॉर्दर्न आर्क की क्या परफॉर्मेंस है अक्रॉस दैट GNPA. दैट शोज द क्वालिटी ऑफ बिजनेस एंड द रोबस्टनेस ऑफ अ रिस्क मॉडल, अ टेक्नोलॉजी, एंड मोर इम्पॉर्टेंटली तो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीजें कि आपका स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ करेक्टर क्या है to run the business, the way you conduct the business, because we are professionally run and board governed. That's why you see that you continue to see outperformance with regards to industry. Because हम जो काम करते हैं और हम इतना पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट करते हैं, उसका एक बहुत जो सबसे ज्यादा एडवांटेज है वर्सेस एनी अदर नॉन बैंक फाइनेंस कंपनी, वो हमारी लायबिलिटी प्रोफाइल में रिफ्लेक्ट करता है. मतलब अगर हमें पैसा देना है तो हमारे पास कैपिटल है, प्लस हमें पैसा रेस करना पड़ता है. आई थिंक वो हमारे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा आसान काम है. वो आज की तारीख में काफ़ी लोगों के लिए नहीं है, बट वो हमारे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा आसान काम है. बिकॉज कि देयर आर फ्यू कंपनीज जो अपने पर्पस को लिव करती हैं, and that's the power it reflects in our liability profiles. And वो 3-4 तरीके से रिफ्लेक्ट करती हैं. एक वो हमारी परफॉर्मेंस में रिफ्लेक्ट करती है, and that is why we will be the only company who last year got rating upgrade without equity infusion. After the IL&FS crisis, most of the companies got rating upgrades only when they had large amount of equity infusion. In our case, it happened just based on performance. The second, we are able to attract a lot of global money, and that money comes from global multilaterals, जो हम बोलते हैं हर देश के अपने डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन होते हैं. जैसे IFC है वर्ल्ड बैंक का, जैसे US का USDFC है, जैसे FMO है नेदरलैंड्स का. ये सारे कंट्रीज के डेवलपमेंट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन होते हैं, and they all work towards the social good. That is a very powerful source of liability profile. Our 20%.
So, are we going for a jobless growth, or where the economy is moving? Because we are seeing a lot of gig economies. So, what is your take on that particular aspect, and how it will impact your business? And the second point, what about cyber security? As you are highly tech savvy organization. Thank you.
I think the way to look at it, sir, economies in the world at 7% growth rate, and the overall banking system growth rate will always be 2 to 2.5 times of it, will ensure that there is sufficient. And over the years, you see there is significant investment flowing into building infra. To my mind, that creates the largest job pools in India. So there is a lot of work being done by the government, and people like us also contribute in our own way by providing access to small businesses in the form of credit. I think the growth prospect for the country looks fabulous. Obviously, there is a challenge given the size of the population we have, and those challenges is best dealt by government. And all of us, as a responsible institution operating in India, our name may sound English. We are an Indian company. Work towards it. And actually, one thing I should have said earlier, and I didn't say, but I want to take a minute to say, to explain what Northern Arc means. The Northern Arc word is actually derived from the old Silk route, which connected west to east, coming from Europe all the way via China to India. And the objective of that word is the flow of credit. उन लोगों को हम पैसा दे पाएं जिनको चाहिए, उनसे लेके जिनके पास है. That is what Northern Arc, the flow of trade, that's what Northern Arc does. So coming back to you, I think if the growth is going to be about 7.5%, we should see a significant and larger allocation between infra and other stuff. You should see the growth in the employment of the people. We contribute in our own way, including our rural finance companies and providing small business loans. We are a big committers. That's the single largest part of our allocation and our balance sheet. 40% of our balance sheet inflows is towards small business loans, and I think that's where it is. We are a strong data capabilities, and obviously continue to invest that we have strong network. But I'll ask my colleague from risk to answer that.
The matter of information security is particularly because we operate on quite a few platforms. We have large amount of data that is stored in our servers. Right? Obviously, information security risk is something that we take very seriously. There is obviously a regulatory framework which covers as to how do you handle information security risk. We have a IT strategy committee, which is a committee of the board, which definitely meets every quarter, but it also meets as and when required to ensure that the flow of work and the data that we have collected is smooth, reliable, consistent, and obviously we have fiduciary responsibility to our clients and to everyone who actually share the data with us to protect that. So there is an IT strategy committee, and then there is an infosec committee which is at executive level, and definitely the events are tracked by these committees and ensure that obviously the sort of responsibility that one should deal with, the sort of responsibility that we should deal with is something we do deliver on. We have an information security team which is headed by a chief information security officer who is technologically quite knowledgeable, and obviously we have certain partners with whom we work with. We have basically 24-hour surveillance on whatever incident, whether there are any incidents on the servers, etc. All that is actually covered by our partners. We have outsourced arrangements for monitoring by 7 monitoring in conjunction with the information security team. So both in terms of governance and in terms of execution, we do have quite a lot of focus on information security.
Plus we have a CISO.
What is the average ticket size?
Yeah. We have multiple types of businesses. We have intermediate retail where we lend for people for them to online. And then we have partnership-based lending and direct retail. Typically, a microfinance loan average ticket size would be between 40 and 50,000 rupees. Typically, in the business loan sector, unsecured part, we would have somewhere between 3 and 5 lakhs. And we have a direct retail business which is MSME secure. There, the average ticket size is closer to 8 lakhs, between 8 and 10 lakhs. Our consumer loans tend to be a little lower. Obviously, unsecured consumer loans, we would be between closer to 75,000. That is unsecured consumer loans. That's typically how the loan ticket size tend to be.
Your average cost of borrowing has increased to 9.23%, and as well as you have reported negative cash flows in the past. Of course, the average cash flow of cost of borrowing is less compared to peers, but it has increased from your own previous years. So, how do you justify it?
So actually, if you have a look, the cost of borrowing for us has been coming down. I mean, it was much higher levels, 3 years back, and then it has been coming down for us. FY23, we had seen a repo rate increase of 250 basis points by RBI. whereas our interest rate has gone up by only 40 basis points. So I think we have done a good job in controlling the rates. The borrowing cost is quite stable for us, and Ashish also mentioned in his presentation that the way the lenders look at us, the cost of fund has been quite stable with the type of liability franchise that we have. We get good money from offshore. These money are generally long term and big ticket size and low interest rate. And these are locked for 5 years. So I think as far as the borrowing cost is concerned, I think it's quite stable. And now with the rating upgrade also, behind us, we just got upgraded last year. We will get sufficient tailwinds as far as the borrowing rates are concerned going forward as well. So we should definitely see the rates coming down from the levels that we are currently seeing.
Your AUM growth has increased in past years, but it is comparatively low to your peers. So, how do you justify that?
Sir, we have been growing at a CAGR of 30%, and Ashish also mentioned. So we were like 5,000 crores 3 years back, and from there on, if you see that we have been growing our direct to customer business, we have also been growing our intermediate retail finance business, and currently, we have been growing at 30%, and this has reached a level of 11,800. Apart from that, we are also, increasing our funds management business. That has also gone up to around 3,000 crores level. And we are also doing a lot of placements business. Apart from the lending that we are doing from the business, we are providing credit solutions to our partners. So if you add all together, the gross transaction value last year was around 30,000 crores for us.
I think, in the credit business, one of the easiest things to do is to grow. Correct? What you need to look at it, you need to look at a risk-adjusted return. So I think we are very, very conscious on the quality of growth, which is to my mind more important than the growth per se. And more importantly, look at the risk-adjusted return we make on it. I think those are two pieces. I think if the GDP is growing at 7.5%, the credit growth in India is 12%. The NBFC growth is about 14 to 16%. If we are growing double of that, I'm very happy. I don't want to grow at 50%. I do not want to stumble upon something. We are very cautious in our approach. We continue to, and that's why you see we are fairly diversified across sectors. We are able to find that growth, which is to ensure we get best quality risk-adjusted return. You see how our NIMs have improved. The way to look at it is to say, look at your NIM. You make a NIM of about 8.3%. That's been our net interest margin. And you add another 100 basis point on the fee income, which comes from the placement business, which comes from our fund management business. And that gives you a gross NIM of 9.3. Then you cut the 4% OPEX, and you cut about 100 basis point of the credit cost. That means you get about 3+% of the assets. And to me, that's a great way to look at it. Absolute growth, if you're growing anywhere